This is the Energy Makers Show, featuring the innovators, financiers, and policymakers focused on the global energy demand. Brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And here's your host, Paul Dickerson.
Hi, I'm Paul Dickerson, and welcome to another episode of the Energy Makers Show. Today we visit with Jim Sledzik, partner at Energy Ventures and president of their U.S. operation, sharing his perspective on the opportunities for energy technology, updating us on three of their portfolio companies, InGrain, Oxane, and Wireless Seismic. All that right after this.
At BKD, we understand the constantly shifting nature of the energy industry. As a national CPA and advisory firm, we serve energy clients from the beginning to the end of the cycle. Our experienced energy advisors serve approximately 300 energy companies in exploration, midstream, downstream, oilfield services, and power production. Plus, we're the largest North American member of the Praxity Global Alliance, which means we can help you wherever you operate. Contact a BKD advisor or visit us online to learn more.
Welcome to another episode of The Future of Water in Unconventionals, brought to you by IHS and CAP Resources.
Hi, I'm Aaron Horn with CAP Resources.
And I'm Sarah Fletcher with IHS.
IHS and CAP Resources have partnered to publish two joint reports, both on water management, one targeted to the operators, the oil and gas producers, and the other to the service industry and the investment community.
Water management is a critical part of oil and gas development, both because it has a dramatic impact on well economics and also for operators to ensure that they're gaining the traction that they need within their communities to continue to develop their resources. We found that there are all kinds of considerations at stake: economic, operational challenges, technology, regulatory trends, and operators really need all of that information at their fingertips together in a cohesive format.
And if you're an operator, if you're drilling for oil and gas and you're managing a lot of water, just one good idea, because of the magnitude of the amount of water you're spending on water management for fracs, just one good idea from some other player in some other region can save you hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars a year in your water management cost. And if you're a service company or in the investment community, just one bad investment can bury you, and no one learning from the mistakes that other people have made and the trends that we see going forward, pulling from the knowledge that we've collectively gathered, this report can help you make smart investments and help steer you away from bad ones.
That's right, and I think that's why we've included both case studies from your on-the-ground experience that CAP Resources bring to the table, as well as the economic analysis and industry-wide data that IHS has at its fingertips.
So we have two reports, one for water management strategies and one for market opportunities. Contact us for more information.
And for more information on water management strategies and water market opportunities in the continental U.S., go to ihs.com/waterunconventionals. This is the Energy Makers Show, brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And now back to the Energy Makers Show with your host, Paul Dickerson.
Welcome back to the Energy Makers Show. Our guest now, Jim Sledzik, partner at Energy Ventures and president of their U.S. operations. Jim, good to have you back.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate the opportunity.
Now, it's been about, a year and a half since you were on the show?
Year and a half, yes. Time flies.
Well, fill us in. How's Energy Ventures?
We're doing great. It's an interesting time in the business. And Energy Ventures is, we're still investing our fourth fund right now. So that's a $350 million fund. Right. We've got $750 million under management of total capital in our four technology funds, and lots of opportunities out there. The challenge that we have sometimes is sorting through them and finding the right ones out of a lot of deal flow that's coming through.
Well, and explain to the viewers who didn't see the last program how Energy Ventures is unique with your European operations.
We were founded in 2002, really under the premise that hydrocarbons would remain the energy of choice for decades to come. It would be required to serve the world and the demand of oil and gas that will happen over the next 2 decades or 3 decades. Technology was going to play a fundamental role in being able to extract economically, more efficiently, more environmentally friendly ways of getting oil and gas out of the ground. So that was the basic premise in which Energy Ventures was founded in 2002.
Well ahead of your time.
Well ahead of our time. And although technology has been applied in the oil field forever,
sure, of course.
And we've seen the opportunity to make money doing that, to find those technologies, those entrepreneurs that are developing these fantastic technologies, game-changing technologies that will help extract more efficiently, more economically, more environmentally friendly methods to get oil and gas out. And so they exist all over the globe right now. So we have offices in Stavanger as our headquarters.
And in what country is that?
In Norway.
Got it.
That's in Norway. So we were birthed in Norway, and we have a deal flow office in Aberdeen, Scotland, which is another one of the areas of focus in the oil field.
Sure.
And then we opened the office in Houston in 2007. And of course, Houston is such a fantastic metropolis, and really, for me, the center of the oil and gas world, with the amount of customers that are here, with the service companies, and really the focus. Houston is a thriving place to be.
Well, and as you mentioned, it's a city that's gone through a fair amount of transition, as has our nation. How has that affected things?
It has. I think fantastic opportunities now with the coming of the shale gale. And that has opened with shale gas, which is already revolutionizing the global energy mix, as well as now tight oil is getting a tremendous amount of focus, to the point where now you hear about energy independence in the United States.
Right.
Which is the first time that we've heard about that in a long time. So this is changing the global landscape for energy, and we're at the forefront of it here in the United States. So,
Tell me about one of the companies.
Sure. One that I talked about the last time was InGrain. They're a Stanford University spinout, and they're headquartered here in Houston. Fantastic technology which uses medical scanning imagery. And they'll take the medical imagery and they'll apply it to cores that are taken from wells in the oil field, fragments of rocks, drill cuttings, things of that nature. And they will use the medical imagery to get a three-dimensional picture of the rocks. And then they will use their proprietary algorithms to test and vet how oil, gas, water interact within the pore space of the rocks, to ultimately predict recovery and how to optimize what's happening in a reservoir. So you can do the picture of the rock lives forever, and you can run sensitivity analyses on this. And so one of the big jobs that they just did in Colombia last year, we've been talking about digital archiving. There's a tremendous amount of core that exists in the world today, and it sits in core repositories,
right,
taken from the reservoirs of the world, the best reservoirs in the world. They're in core repositories. And in Colombia recently, with the government there and the ANH, we've done a survey, and we've digitized about 33,000 feet of core in about 4 months, and turn that into digital imagery that then we can characterize what's happening in parts of that, whichever parts that you want to analyze. But it's turned it from rocks into digital imagery. So very exciting.
When that company came to you, what did they look like? Why was that the right investment, and where do you seek to take them?
We invested them in 2007, and it was effectively just a company just beginning, so pre-revenue, and working in basically 2D images. So they have transformed over the past 6 years. They've transformed into a fantastic company. I think it's natural. We are venture capital owners, so
Sure.
we help build them, vet the technology, grow it, and then begin the distribution around the globe.
Right.
So they now are operating in Brazil and Colombia, in the Middle East, as well as here, operations in Canada. So they've started, but there's certainly the next level of ownership will come ultimately when it's the right time in
Sure.
the industry to really scale this technology to a grand scale.
So 2007 pre-revenue, what's it like today?
So the company has experienced explosive growth. I would say from 2011 to 2012, our revenue increased on the order of 8 or 9-fold, and they continue this year. And I think that the opportunities in front of them in the shales and the rest of the world on digital archiving and cuttings means that we're going to continue that growth.
Really experiencing that hockey stick that venture folks look for.
Absolutely. That's always the wish, is the hockey stick of growth, and InGrain has hit it.
And when you look at some of the near-term 2013 goals for the company, what are they? New markets, or really shore up within those markets you named?
Yeah, there's a little bit of both. So it's they've focused on the shales, and that's one of these tight rocks, and they're able to image those tight rocks and work on characterizing those tight rocks. So that's very much a focus. Drill cuttings is now coming, so that's the one that's being commercialized at the moment. When you get all these rocks, you don't have to take a core. So can you reconstruct a core from the drill cuttings in a horizontal well? That's a little bit of the holy grail, and that's what they're working on, which is extremely exciting.
Now, Houston is known for a lot of its medical technology. Do you see many companies making that transformation from medicine to energy?
There are those, although we don't see a tremendous number of those.
Right.
The InGrain is the one example from our database, although acoustics is also another natural one that is used in medical imagery, that it has applications within the oil field as well.
Well, fascinating. Well, I know you brought some props with you, and I'm eager to get to them. We'll be back with more with Jim Sledzik right after this.
Welcome to this edition of The Power of People, where we explore how to bring out the best in your most valuable asset. I'm Robin Knowles, President and CEO at TDS, the Workforce Performance Experts. Today we're talking with Jim Newport, retired chemical manufacturing executive and now President and Managing Director of CHEM-MAN Consulting and an associate with Merced Group. Thanks for joining us, Jim.
Thanks for inviting me back.
I'd like to explore how the recent reform from Austin can facilitate partnerships between high schools, community colleges, industry, and the private sector in developing young people in high school for the high-demand energy and technology careers. Tell me a little bit more about that opportunity.
The new education reform legislation includes flexibility for school districts to be able to work more closely with their community colleges, with industry and private sector as a whole. This collaborative opportunity will provide companies like TDS to partner with the local schools and industry in helping facilitate training in the endorsement area. Students who desire to start a career prep in high school will have more options to enter the workforce training programs because of this collaboration. Having motivated trainees right out of high school with a certificate from an industry, if you remember the 4 different endorsement areas, and then move into technical and specialized training subsequent to their high school education. The result will be increased numbers of young people with the skills and knowledge to execute specialized functions in the petrochemical industries.
Wow, that's a lot of potential change that can result. Can you be more specific with an example?
I thought you would never ask. Consider this. Graduating students who have already chosen their focused career before they enter high school, and once they've graduated from high school, they've gained specialization in that chosen career. That student will bring a very strong foundation for their career choice upon graduation. Consequently, students can then improve their ability to compete and enter in specialized career job training in the public or private sector by completing A schools, sort of like the military, A meaning advanced, and then they will focus in their chosen career. The partnerships that we spoke of earlier will expose the trainee to a work environment and require training for specialties such as technical operator, maintenance technician, instrumentation, electrical, and laboratory. This system should increase the supply of qualified workers to meet the very strong demand in the energy industry requires.
So what will be the key to achieving this exciting workforce development and excellence?
An absolute key will be the aggressive cooperation and collaboration between the high schools, community college, industry, and the private sector. This will create an accelerated focused career training future for high school graduates. I'm talking about active A schools whose curriculum includes classroom and field hands-on modules. This by nature cannot be realized without industry allowing it. Exciting stuff for sure. Buckle up, change is coming.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you.
This has been another edition of The Power of People. Join us again next time to learn more about how you can develop excellence in your workforce while getting the best possible ROI from your human capital.
This is the Energy Makers Show, brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And now, back to the Energy Makers Show with your host, Paul Dickerson.
Welcome back to the Energy Makers Show, continuing on with Jim Sledzik with Energy Ventures. Now, Jim, you were just telling us about InGrain. Tell us about some of the other companies.
You bet. Would be very happy to. And I actually have a prop with me from a company called Wireless Seismic,
All right.
which is headquartered here in Houston as well. And we are co-invested with Chesapeake Energy.
Yep.
on this one, and just recently Total Energy Ventures, the French supermajor, came in and invested as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a great strategic.
It's a fantastic, the value proposition is supported by that investment, and really the technology is wireless seismic technology. So there's a lot of companies out there in the shales that are using nodes, which are dumb and blind, out in massive quantities, gathering data on these shale plays within the United States. What wireless seismic does is they bring the data back as if there were a cable there. And that the secret sauce is, how do you get such huge quantities of seismic data back to the central location without having cables out there? Because cables bring, rats like to eat them, animals like to eat them, they're heavy, they have to be hauled out by people, and then you have to fix them. Anytime there's a break in the cable, you lose productivity.
All right, so what is this? Walk me through it.
Yes, so this is a seismic instrument, and this is what's out there. You will get on the order. Right now in Kurdistan, we have our first 3D crew acquiring data in 3 dimensions. In Kurdistan, 7,500 of these are now in Kurdistan, and they are spread out over a huge area.
Sure.
And then there's some type of seismic source, like a vibrator or explosives, which create a signal,
right,
and that bounces down into the ground, and you image the what's happening underneath the earth, where the oil and gas could possibly lie. And this is bringing all that data back, and then it's transferring it immediately to a central recorder. So the operations can see exactly what's happening in real time. And this is the only system in the world that does that at scale.
Of my venture friends, they'll often remind me, Paul, we'll invest in technology, but we really care about having a team that can execute. Now, I've heard great things about the management team over there. Tell me about them and what they're looking to do.
It's very good. They have a fantastic setup. I think a great shareholder base with one of the major independents in the U.S. and a super major now, along with Energy Ventures. The chairman is the former president of Western GECO and the former president of Baker Atlas as well. And the management team has been there and done it. So there's a gentleman named Mick Lambert, who's the COO and president, who was the founder and CEO of GXT, a data processing software that sold to ION a few years ago. And the CEO, Roy Kligfield, as well, has a long history in this type with networks as well as with seismic, and he is a PhD geologist as well. CFO is a former CFO of one of our portfolio companies, Novodrill. So the team has an excellent base in which to grow, and now they're working to expand that around the globe to bring in the right players to help them in places like China and places like the Middle East, Africa, and as well as in Europe. And you might find it interesting that also one of our launch partners for wireless seismic is Microseismic Inc. and Peter Duncan, who you had on the show maybe a year and a half ago or something of that nature. So they are using this system on the shale plays to monitor hydraulic fracture jobs throughout the United States and around the globe. But this specific system is being used in the United States today.
Well, fantastic. So what's next?
Well, one of our other Houston-based companies is a company called Oxane.
All right.
And they are a Rice University spinout. And they were formed in 2003 to commercialize advanced ceramic proppant. And so an example of this is what I'm showing right there. This is ceramic proppant, engineered, each bead is engineered in a plant in Van Buren, Arkansas.
And when you say proppant, it's to be used for?
To be used for hydraulic fracturing.
Got it.
So this is and Oxane is focused on the tight oil plays in the United States currently,
right,
as well as shale gas has a relevance for this, but the specific product that we are focusing on right now is for tight oil.
All right.
And the company now has pumped over, I believe it's 37 or 38 wells at the moment. A lot in the Permian as well as the Eagle Ford areas, and we'll be pumping the first in Canada shortly as well. The field trial results now have shown on the order of 20% increase in productivity versus another commodity ceramic well, which is offset from it. So 20% more oil and gas from wells is quite important in the dynamic of the oil field today.
Now, I'll often hear from CEOs of technology companies saying we've got this great technology, but we can't convince a well owner or a landowner to use it. How is it that you were able to connect those dots?
It's a great point. It's one of our challenges is to get new technology and get it applied. The interesting thing with Oxane is that we now have 5 investors which are E&P companies. 4 of those are super majors. So that is a nice platform
Absolutely.
in which to get usage of the proppant as well as to learn the benefits of it. So that's going through. It still takes a long time.
Sure.
But we're very excited about this proppant. And of course, in the shale plays today, this is a consumable, and each well absorbs millions of pounds per well. Each well needs that. And so this has a value proposition. As you can see, it's very round, very spherical, very strong. And because it's hollow, it's much lighter than competing technology, or sand is the other one. So
well, yeah, and walk through just to underscore the benefits of this. As compared to sand, this does what?
So this is on the order of the same weight as sand,
right,
but it's much stronger. And that's of interest when you get the hydraulic fractures closing.
Sure.
The strength becomes a very important part to allow the fractures to stay open, to provide a path for oil and gas to get out of the wells from the fracture network into the wellbore and up.
All right, so what are the challenges for Oxane?
So E&P companies are rightfully skeptical, and you have to prove the value proposition
Sure.
of your product. They're in the process of doing that. One of the challenges is the companies like to see as you put this down wells, they want to make sure that it can last in those wells for
Sure.
multi-years. So right now we have well data on the order of 18 months, and so that's an important aspect of it. What we need to do now is ramp up manufacturing, and we're in the process of adding another line at the manufacturing facility in Arkansas. And then it's to get more of this down in the ground with E&P operators and let it perform its magic and bring more oil and gas out of the ground.
All right, before I let you go, give me an overview of some of the portfolio. How many companies are we talking about?
Sure, we're on the order of 23 portfolio companies at the moment, and we've made our last investment was here in Houston as well. It's a company called Abrado, which is doing a downhole video camera.
Nice.
So we're very excited about that. We have a few opportunities that we're working on in due diligence at the moment, so we're very excited. It is a environment which is difficult for raising capital.
Indeed.
There's no doubt. But there's no shortage of entrepreneurs coming up with great ideas, and we're here to support those entrepreneurs and grow companies and provide value for our shareholders and our investors.
Well, Jim, I know you're very busy. Thank you for coming by today.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate the opportunity.
And that wraps our discussion with Jim Sledzik at Energy Ventures. It also concludes this episode of The Energy Makers Show, heard on the radio nationwide and seen right here at TheEnergyMakers.com. I'm Paul Dickerson, and we'll see you next week.